यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की श्रीमद्-भगवद-गीता की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 7, text number 30, knowledge of the Absolute. I'll read the verse by myself. Sadi bhutadi devam mam sadi yagyam cha ye viduhu prayana kale pichamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. Word to word meaning. Sadibhuta, the governing principle of the material manifestation. Adidaivam, underlying all the demigods. Mam, me. Sadiyajnam, sustaining all sacrifices. Cha, and ye, those. Viduhu, no. Prayana, of death. Kale, at the time. Api, even. Cha, and. Mam, may. They, viduhu, to know, yukta chetasaha, with steadfast mind. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all the demigods, and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can with steadfast mind understand and know me even at the time of death. Please repeat this translation. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all the demigods, and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can, with steadfast mind, understand and know me even at the time of death. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Persons acting in Krishna consciousness are never entirely deviated from the path of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the transcendental association of Krishna consciousness, one can understand how the Supreme Lord is the governing principle of the material manifestation and even of the demigods. Gradually, by such transcendental association, one becomes convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, and at the time of death, such a Krishna conscious person can never forget Krishna. Naturally, he is thus promoted to the planet of the Supreme Lord, Goloka Vrindavana. This 7th chapter particularly explains Shri Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama Ki Jai. This 7th chapter particularly explains how can one become a fully Krishna conscious person. The beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord. And by His grace, one can understand Krishna to be the Supreme God. At the same time, one can really understand the constitutional position of the living entity and how the living entity forgets Krishna and becomes entangled in material activities. By gradual development of Krishna consciousness in good association, the living entity can understand that due to forgetfulness of Krishna, he has become conditioned by the laws of material nature. He can also understand that this human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness and that it should be fully utilized to attain the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Many subjects have been discussed in this chapter: the man in distress, the inquisitive man, the man in want of material necessities, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Paramatma, liberation from birth, death and diseases, and worship of the Supreme Lord. However, he who is actually elevated in Krishna consciousness does not care for the different processes. He simply directly engages himself in activities of Krishna consciousness and thereby factually attains his constitutional position as eternal servitor of Lord Krishna. In such a situation, he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. This determined faith is called Dridhavrata, and it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga or transcendental loving service. That is the verdict of all scriptures. This 7th chapter of the Gita is the substance of that conviction. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 7th chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavad-Gita in the matter of knowledge of the Absolute. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the final verse of this chapter, 7th chapter. And here Krishna is telling to Arjuna that those who know that Krishna is the governing principle of this material manifestation, that He is the Supreme Lord, He is the one underlying all the demigods, and He is the one who is sustaining all sacrifices, can understand and know Krishna even at the time of death. So why is it so important that one has to know Krishna at the time of death? There are so many things for us to know, but why is it very important for us to know about Krishna at the time of death? So Prabhupada actually narrates a story in this regard, where people have so many interests, they want to have knowledge of so many things in this material world. There are so many departments of knowledge. So Prabhupada narrated the story of a scholar and a boatman. So there was a very learned scholar. This was maybe 500 years back or so. And this scholar, he wanted to cross the river and go to meet somebody. So he went to the banks of the river and he found a boatman and told him, "You please take me across the other side. I want to go there." And the boatman, simple person, he agreed and they started other side of the river. So while they were traveling, the scholar asked the boatman about his background, what he's doing, and all these things, and asked him, "What have you studied?" So the boatman said, "I'm an illiterate person, so I have never studied anything in my life. I've only been rowing this boat. That's all I've been doing." Then this scholar asked him, "Oh, you have not studied anything. Mathematics at least have you studied? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division?" He said, "No, sir. I don't know any mathematics." Then that scholar said, "What, you don't even know mathematics? 25% of your life is waste if you don't even know mathematics." So the boatman accepted whatever he said. Then again the scholar asked the boatman, "Okay, mathematics you don't know. At least do you know economics, profit, loss, demand, supply, all these things?" Then that person said, No, I have never heard of these terms. First time I'm listening to all this. I have never heard all this." Then that scholar told him, 50% of your life is waste because you don't know maths, you don't know economics. Then he asked, "At least do you know science? Law of gravity, law of flotation, all these things do you know?" He said, "Again, these are all new terms to me. I have never heard of all these things." So then the scholar said, "Even this also you don't know. You don't know how objects float on water. You don't know how things are attracted, how everything is falling on the ground. All this you don't know. Then 75% of your life is waste." So the boatman was silent. Then after some time, that boat developed a small hole and water started entering the boat. And slowly the boat started sinking. Then the boatman asked the scholar, "Sir, do you know how to swim?" Then the scholar said, No, I don't know how to swim." The boatman said, "I'm so sorry, sir, but 100% of your life is waste." And he jumped out of the boat and he went to safety. And what happened to the scholar after that, we all know. So, why Prabhupada narrated this story is because the most important thing in our lives is to understand who am I? Why am I suffering in this world? And how is it that I can be free from this suffering and experience eternal happiness? This is what everybody is seeking. Everybody is seeking this in their own ways. But out of our ignorance, because we are so unfortunate that we don't have access to this knowledge. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is taking that position of an ignorant person. But he's speaking like a very, very learned person with knowledge of Shastra, with knowledge of morality, with knowledge of what is good, what is not good. But all this, he's speaking without this understanding of who am I? Who is Krishna? What is the source of my real happiness? Without this knowledge, Arjuna is speaking, and therefore Krishna is telling, you're speaking like a very learned person, but you're actually a fool number one. So, if somebody has to come to this platform of understanding his constitutional position, because unless we understand that Krishna is the source of everything in this world, and that everything that we see, whether it is the material world around us, whether it is all the laws of nature which are working, whether it is all the devatas who are controlling the different affairs of this material world, all of this ultimately, the source of all this is Krishna. Unless one comes to this understanding, we will be attached to material things. And attachment to material things means, just like the scholar who's attached to science, geography, mathematics, and so many other things, at the time of death, when death comes calling, none of this is going to save us. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. Whatever is a person's consciousness at the time of death, that state only he attains without fail. So, if one is not conscious of one's spiritual position, if one is not conscious of his eternal relationship with Krishna, then that person's suffering is going to continue. Another life of suffering, birth, disease, old age, and death, this cycle is going to continue. So, there are so many departments of knowledge, and Srimad-Bhagavatam very nicely states that this is a verse in the second canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, where it is said, Etavan Sankhya Yoga Abhyam Swadharma Parinishtaya Janma Labha Parapumsam Ante Narayana Smritihi. That is, the highest perfection of human life, which can be achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit. So, there are so many departments of knowledge. People are trying to understand what is the cause of this creation, how this material world is functioning. They are drilling deeper and deeper, trying to find what is this God particle. There are so many people who are trying to see how we can become deathless. So many departments of knowledge. So Bhagavatam is telling the highest perfection of human life achieved by all this complete study of matter and spirit, or by practice of mystic powers. Many people, what they are doing, they are understanding that there is something beyond this matter. So scientists are only concerning themselves with matter. But those who have understood there is something beyond this matter and are trying to take to the practice of yoga to obtain mystic perfection, that is another category of people. Or by perfect discharge of occupational duty. Swadharma nishtaya. There are many people who say work is worship, and they are trying to do their duties very, very perfectly. But Bhagavatam says, all this is a waste if at the time of death you cannot remember Krishna. Just like that boatman or the scholar was knowing a lot of things. But this important thing that I have to swim when the boat is drowning, he does not know. So, if we don't prepare ourselves to be able to remember Krishna at the time we are leaving this body, all our endeavors, whether it is obtaining knowledge or carrying out our duties perfectly or perfecting ourselves through the process of yoga, all that is a waste of time. It is a waste of effort. So the most important thing for us is to gain this transcendental knowledge which Krishna is giving in the Bhagavad Gita. Once when Prabhupada went to America, this was in MIT in Boston, there were so many, he was invited to give a talk, and there were a lot of departments. We all know MIT is a big university. So Prabhupada said, in your country there are so many departments of knowledge, because America was a very, very advanced nation. But he said, where is that department of knowledge which tells what happens once a person leaves this body? There is no such department of knowledge. So Prabhupada says, therefore we have come to give this knowledge, which is the most important knowledge. So that is what here also Krishna is emphasizing. How can one come to this platform of Krishna consciousness? The beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord, and by His grace, one can understand Krishna to be the Supreme God. So the only way by which we can make people aware of this knowledge is by bringing them in association with a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, by making them understand the position of Krishna. So even when Prabhupada went to America, many people had written translations on the Bhagavad Gita, but none of them were able to make people into devotees of Krishna, because in that Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was missing. Everything they have analyzed, everything they have understood from the Bhagavad Gita, except that our goal is to surrender to Krishna. But when Prabhupada published his Bhagavad Gita, we all know what happened. Today ISKCON is a worldwide movement, so many devotees. Simply by reading this one book, Bhagavad Gita as it is, people develop faith in Krishna. Simple, it is very, very simple, not very difficult to understand. Because when we are reading this book, what is happening? We are coming in touch with a pure devotee. These are Prabhupada's own words. So we are associating with Srila Prabhupada, we are coming in touch with him. That is the potency of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So the beginning of a person's escaping from this miseries of this material world is when he starts reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And by this what happens? One can understand and know Krishna even at the time of death. This is possible when we read Srila Prabhupada's books. So therefore, Prabhupada emphasized so much that his books have to be distributed. And he was very happy when he had reports of devotees distributing his books. So in all ISKCON temples, we have this book marathon festival. As Prabhu had also announced, today we are inaugurating this book marathon festival, where our endeavor is to distribute as many of these books as possible, so that this knowledge, which is not available in any institution or university, this becomes available to all people. By reading this book, people become interested, they come to our temple, where systematically they can understand this spiritual knowledge. So I'll just share some quotes of Prabhupada on book distribution, why it is so important. Prabhu, can you just play that PPT? It's come. Can you just go to the next slide? So these are some of Prabhupada's quotes on book distribution. So Prabhupada says, in this modern godless civilization, everyone is greatly suffering due to lack of the real knowledge of Krishna. And our task is great and very important. We must deliver this pure science of God to everyone and give them the chance to make their lives successful. So you can see how much importance Prabhupada laid on book distribution. And finally he says, therefore we stress so much in the book distribution, Somehow or other, if the book goes in one hand, he will be benefited. At least he will see, oh, they have taken so much price, let me see what is there. So many times people ask, why don't you freely distribute Bhagavad Gita? To freely distribute, it will be in the puja room, right? They'll never open it. But if you take, at least they pay money, they will see what is there inside. So that is the reason why we try to distribute more and more books. And this book distribution is not a new thing. Jiva Goswami, who was one of the 6 Goswamis, he started this book distribution. And he sent 3 of his disciples, Shyamananda Prabhu, Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivas Acharya, with all the Gaudiya Vaishnava literature in a bullock cart. From Vrindavan, he sent them to Orissa and Bengal, saying, you distribute books and come. And they came back and gave the first book distribution report. There was a competition, who will distribute more books. So Shyamananda Prabhu gave his report, Narottam Das Thakur gave his report, and Srinivas Acharya, he gave his report. So in that parampara, the system of book distribution is continuing. So Prabhupada says, book distribution is my life. If book distribution increases, I will never die. I will be living for centuries. So you can see, can you just go to that slide, Prabhu? And then Prabhupada's desire was, he used to say, regarding the book distribution, somehow the distribution must be doubled and tripled as far as possible. Do it. So this was Prabhupada's instruction. So let us look at some statistics. Last year, we had around 75 participants who participated in the book marathon. And we had, in 2024, the year before that, we had distributed almost 4,946 books. And last year, we distributed 16,119 books. So Prabhupada wanted it to be tripled, and it was by his grace tripled. And the value of books distributed, from 10 lakh rupees, we were able to distribute books worth 41 lakh rupees. Next slide. So you all can then say, you can calculate for yourself what our target should be for this year. Prabhupada has said either double or triple. So you have 2 targets, target 1 and target 2. So wish you all the best for distributing these books. We have some, those posters are there. So all of you have downloaded the app. I think when you all came in, there was a QR code by which you could download the app. So when you go out, our volunteers will tell you how you can register for the book marathon. There is a link where you have to enter your details and register. And the devotee who is in touch with you, he will approve and give some credit limit and all, and you can distribute books. So we have these prizes, milestone prizes every week will be given for devotees who are reaching these milestones. In addition to this, we will have top 3 prizes both in the individual and retail category. So we request all devotees to enthusiastically participate and distribute these books for the pleasure of Krishna and Prabhupada. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada Book Marathon ki. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki. So now we'll have Shainarthi. Hare Krishna.